You know, guys, so we did a whole episode last week talking about some of our favorite castles in pop culture, and I completely forgot to mention the castle I grew up with as a kid in the San Fernando Valley, and that is Sherman Oaks Castle Park, the best miniature golf in Los Angeles, also the only miniature golf in Los Angeles.
What? Wait,
Yes.
how is that possible?
How is it possible that there's no other mini golf in LA? I do not know. I think
Lots and lots.
there certainly is in like Orange County, but like in like the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, I'm pretty sure Sherman Oaks Castle Park is the only miniature golf course around. Kevin, do you know the golf course I'm talking about? Or Casey,
No. No, I've seen it. I mean, there's a better one like in the Ventura area that's kind of the same thing. I've been to that one.
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised that there's not a lot of frisbee golf, but you need a lot of space to do that.
There's a lot of disc golf places, but yeah, miniature golf.
I know disc golf people.
I know disc golf people too.
Yeah.
But it's got some couple, I think 3 miniature golf courses as well as batting cages and an arcade that they've revamped over the years. I definitely need to revisit it.
Does it have a moving turret?
I do not. It has a drawbridge. That's what you cross to get into the center. I don't know if it has a moving turret.
Or a portcullis. Does it have a portcullis?
I don't know if it has a portcullis.
The one at golf and stuff has all that shit, Chris.
I was really
the superior
the
golf
first
and
time,
stuff. Yes.
The first time I went to Disneyland and there was no portcullis. I mean, what a letdown.
Yeah.
Medieval Times has one. Medieval Times, they still try to sell themselves as educational.
It's my favorite line in The Princess Bride when Diego just goes, Fezzik, the portcullis.
I definitely had many, at least 1 or 2 birthdays there. I went to a couple birthdays there, so it's very near and dear to my heart. But I do want to say, the Valley, you need to step up your mini golf game. We need more than that. I want to give a shout out to you. Have you guys seen Urban Putt Mini Golf? They have like a location in San Francisco and one in Denver. It's like the Meow Wolf of mini golf. You got to look it up on YouTube. The courses look nuts. It's like very interactive. Like, so they have like they have one miniature golf hole that is like skee ball, and you're putting the ball into like a skee ball like thing with like, you know, the circles. They have one that's like a, you know, like those marble mazes. It's like not even a golf hole. You put your ball into the hole and like you have to navigate it through like a marble maze. It's crazy. Yeah, that's called Urban Putt. So I just want to give them a shout out because really rad. If you guys could design a miniature golf course or like a hole in a course, what would you do?
I don't know. Maybe we should talk about it after the show starts.
This is our long ass cold open, Casey.
Apparently.
All right, welcome to...
This is the coldest cold open you've ever heard of. Freezer burn, baby.
Welcome to another miserable podcast, Horror Decomposed. My name is Zach. That friendly gentleman you just heard was Professor Casey.
Hello.
He's happy to be here.
The Criterion Kid, Chris Pistol, is also with us.
And I'd rather be playing mini golf.
Me too. And
I actually played mini golf like 2 days ago. That's not a lie.
We are talking about a Full Moon Studios production today, and we cannot have a Full Moon episode without the biggest Full Moon Entertainment fan we know. Horror host, horror writer, artist extraordinaire, Kevin Cannarile. Welcome back to the show. The Kool Ghoul himself is with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Are we supposed to kayfabe that, Kevin?
That's fine.
It's an affectionate moniker.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Kevin, back to my question at hand in the cold open that no one answered. If you could design a mini golf course or a hole in a course, what would you do?
Oh, man. I don't know. I've never actually played mini golf. I've never been to a mini golf course.
Okay,
yeah.
We're going to mini golf next weekend, dude.
So much fun.
Monster Palooza is canceled. We're going to mini golf.
Yeah, like this is unheard of. You didn't have mini golf like in Portland. I feel like they would have awesome miniature golf
I
courses
think
over there.
they had a place called Bullwinkle's, and it was like
Bullwinkle's?
Bullwinkle the Moose. Yeah, and
Like
he had a
Bullwinkle?
mini.
Like
Yeah.
Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Yeah, and he had a mini golf course there, but I never went. So I've been
Oh my
golfing,
gosh.
regular golfing, but
Kevin, your
I've never
childhood
been
is
mini
incomplete.
We'll take you to golf and stuff, bro. Don't worry. We'll take you to golf and stuff. They have 2 courses. You can choose multiple directions.
Oh.
Casey, Chris, do you have like any inkling if you were going to design a mini golf
I'd
course?
have
what
a
you would do?
fucking crashed helicopter with like zombies and shit around it, and then you have to shoot through the blades to get the ball in. The moving blades. And then if you try to cheat, you get fucked up by the blades.
Say so like the ball's just going to be deflecting off the blades and kids are going to get hit in the face with the ball coming back at them.
You know what? Casey's miniature golf assumes no liability.
What about you, Chris?
I would make one that's called Rube Goldberg's Mini Golf, and it's just one hole. You hit your ball, and then the ball goes through this contraption, and you just watch it for about an hour go through this Rube Goldberg machine, traveling down various places, making dominoes fall over and all this stuff. And at the very end, you get a hole in one. Everyone gets a hole in one at the very end.
Aw, that's fun.
I think I know what I do. I'd have a mini golf course that's just the final putt and Happy Gilmore.
Yes.
And just go with that.
Where the thing falls down onto the course and he has to hit around it. The tower.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
I haven't seen Happy Gilmore in so long.
Oh my gosh.
I just caught it
Love that
on
movie.
TV the other day.
You must not. I mean, that movie is on cable like every day. I love it though, so it's fine with me. Before we get into our topic at hand, I want to give a big congrats to friend of the show, Steve Rzinski, who won the Best Amityville Award at the 2023 Chainsaw Awards from Fangoria for his film Amityville Christmas.
Yes.
Congratulations, Steve. That is awesome.
Hell yeah. Congrats, Steve.
All right.
We had Steve, we did an interview with Steve. Steve is the director of Carousel, Carousel 2, the Meowie movies, and he made an Amityville movie, Amityville Christmas. I think I don't know if it's his latest film. It's one of his latest films. I know he has an anthology movie that's coming out this summer as well. But Steve, we will have to get you back on the show sometime. But congratulations, man. Best Amityville Award at Fangoria's 2023 Chainsaw
Is it
Awards.
Amityville Christmas or Amityville Christmas Vacation? On Letterboxd, it is Amityville Christmas Vacation.
Okay. Okay.
Corrections.
It is Amityville Christmas Vacation, Chris. Thank you for correcting me.
Aren't you glad you have a crackpot team of fact checkers for you?
Yes. So check out Amityville Christmas Vacation at silverspotlightfilms.com. Okay. So it is Castle Month, and we figured what better movie to talk about in Castle Month than Castle Freak. So
It does have Castle in the title.
it does. So let's get into it.
Not many horror films have Castle in the title.
No. This is our feature scare.
Stuart Gordon, the director of Fortress, The Pit and the Pendulum, and Reanimator, takes you into the dungeons of Castle d'Orsino. Now an American family
Welcome to Castle Riley, lady.
will inherit a legacy of evil.
They say the castle is haunted.
And a master of modern horror will unleash his most terrifying creation. Stuart Gordon's Castle Freak.
There's somebody else here! There's somebody in the castle! Dorsino. He was never buried. She kept him alive. He's here somewhere in the castle. There is a madman in there, but my family is in danger.
Reanimators Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton in Stuart Gordon's Castle Freak.
What is your history with Castle Freak, Kevin?
So it was one I was always hesitant on watching out of the Full Moon movies, because like I had heard about it before I had seen it, and so I was like, oh, it sounds like it's a little more grim than what I typically like. Has some, and it has some questionable scenes in it, but it's still a pretty I mean, it's that Stuart Gordon fun is still an element in it, despite how serious of a movie it is. But
Definitely not for kids.
Yeah, yeah.
This is not Moonbeam.
Yeah. I mean, Stuart Gordon was doing a more kid-friendly. The movie has that tie with dolls and stuff, because to make Castle Freak, Stuart Gordon had to make Dolls, the film Dolls, which is an underrated classic of his, and is more of a dark fairy tale that kids could watch. But
and it's not a Stuart Gordon movie if you were to look at all.
It's not.
Yeah.
But it ended up, it was made before Castle Freak, using the same sets, I think. And then it was released after Castle Freak because of all the stop motion stuff. Ended up taking longer. So
that's why you just get a guy in a suit, man.
Yeah. Well, Stuart Gordon had ambition for those dolls. It's an underrated classic.
He had ambition for this movie too. Like, he was so stoked to do it. Because like that got me to watch this movie, which is weird. Because I saw it in Fangoria first. Okay. So they had like a on-set diary, and it did some great things. It also really spoiled some shit in the movie. Like peepees and things. So having spoiled that kind of ruined some stuff in the movie, so I won't get too deep into it. But it made this sound like it was Stuart Gordon trying to make like fucking Coppola's Dracula. Okay, like it really like laid it on thick, and it made me want to see the movie. Plus, you see pictures of the Castle Freak dude. He looks cool as shit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it made me want to see it, and then eventually they got the figure of him and everything. I think I might have saw it before the figure came out. I know I ended up renting this from Blockbuster to watch it, and I can't remember if anything was cut from it or not. I don't think so. I think this is the same version I saw. But yeah, this was Fangoria marketing working on young me, high school me, like 9th grade me, I think, is when this came out.
There are some definite scenes that you can see that kind of like Dracula type vibe, where like when he goes into the room and it's that solid blue window and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, this is a really good artsy kind of scene.
Yeah. And so apparently I was like 15 when this movie came out. And I did not appreciate this movie when I first saw it. I thought it was boring as fuck. How old were you when you saw it, Kev?
I was older. I think almost 20.
Okay, so you were catching up on like old R-rated stuff at that point.
Yeah, this was like, because I had put a couple movies off on the list, so I held off on like Castle Freak, a non-full moon one that what was I just had it in my head. Oh yeah, Pet Cemetery. I had held
Okay.
off on that one because everyone is like, no, it's like his scariest book and scariest movie and stuff. And I just kind of like passed on it as a kid. I was like, I don't know if I could handle it.
Yeah, I don't want to get fucked up by this.
Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, so that was one of my later movies that I got into. And then like I'm still going through the catalog and like catching up on some that I just skipped outright of the full moon films. But Castle
I
Freak
just do
definitely
that 80s
surprised me.
movies. Were you entertained your first watching?
Old full moon films are always entertaining. Like the perfect
True.
runtime, you know, yeah, even old Empire stuff too. It's like
I'll say this, Casey. I feel like when we were kids, like watching, like I definitely had more patience for stuff. Like when I was younger,
It's true.
like
That's true.
watching stuff on VHS, especially or TV, because if you're watching it on TV, it's like, okay, this is like my only chance to watch this. So even if it's kind of boring, you're like, I'm holding out though. I'm giving it a chance. I'm gonna stay with it. Or if you get it on VHS, you get it for the weekend from the video store. It's like, this was my pick. This is my weekend movie. Like, I'm not abandoning this.
You're always
So
stuck with your pick. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's a lot easier to give up on stuff or kind of lose your focus if something doesn't get you right away. So that's also, I think, a factor too.
yeah.
The reason I asked you
From when
guys
we
is
were kids.
because I fell asleep for an hour watching this for the podcast.
Did you go back and watch what you fell asleep
Oh,
through? Because
absolutely, yeah.
You might have
I've
missed some terrifying stuff.
I've seen this movie like 5 or 6 times at this point, so like
Okay.
the boring parts are really boring parts. But yeah, it gets more interesting.
It's good dramatic roles for Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs though.
Yeah.
They're
Like-
great together, man.
I think they sell it. Barbara
Yeah.
Crampton is like a chameleon. Like, I don't even recognize her. Like, Jeffrey Combs is, identifiable in any movie he's
Yeah.
in immediately. But Barbara Crampton really is she's like really, like she fits well with her character. Like, she disappears, I think, more into her roles.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, she's dealing with such a piece of shit husband in this movie. Like, she should have left long ago, like she said.
Yeah.
This is all his fault. I mean, he killed a kid. He blinded his other kid.
It was an accident.
He was drunk. It was his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's like, all right, yeah, I know I killed one of our kids, and I seriously altered the life of the other one, but we're in a castle now, so we should start fucking again. Let's go.
Yeah. Anytime he apologizes, it's immediately followed up by him just trying to bang Barbara, her
Yeah.
character. It's never like they'll have a genuine moment and then they'll start to she'll start to get past it just a little, and then he just goes in right to start trying to
This is
You're
like the
"Dude."
prototypical like 90s man in a movie, pretty much. Like, this is like every character Michael Douglas played in a movie, which is just like, I'm a terrible man, I make terrible decisions with my white privilege, and you should feel bad for me.
And that's the thing, he's supposed to be a sympathetic character. He's not. No.
I guess he redeems himself at the end.
I have issues with the ending. I really
Yeah.
do. We'll get to that.
Do we want to talk more about the plot, what this film is going on, and the wonderful castle within this film?
Before we even talk about the plot, I want to say I love how this movie got made. If you've checked, I don't know if you looked at the Wikipedia for Castle Freak. So that according to the Wikipedia, while preparing to work on Space Truckers, director Stuart Gordon, who Stuart collaborated with Charles Band a lot in recent years, in the past on like from Reanimator and From Beyond, because Empire International Pictures produced those movies, which was the precursor to Full Moon. So Castle Freak, I guess, was sort of the start of the Full Moon Studios era, according to Wikipedia, in 1995.
It's when they tried to be a little more highbrow.
Yeah.
I think he had Dino De Laurentiis' studio around then. Like, it was when he bought that and stuff.
And I think Gordon's last directorial effort before Castle Freak was Fortress, which is not a full moon movie.
But rules.
Yeah, I need to watch it. But the way this movie was made is fantastic. So Stuart Gordon was in Charles Band's office, and he noticed a poster on his wall that said Castle Freak on it. And he asked Charles Band about it, and Charles was like, "Yeah, well, that's a castle and there's a freak."
What more could you want from a film?
You know, it was just it's a poster with like a Quasimodo-like man chained to a wall being whipped by a woman. And Band goes, if you want to do something with it, by all means, as long as there's a castle and there's a freak in it. And Stuart Gordon is like,
there'll be both of those.
Stuart Gordon is like, fuck yeah, I'm in. And so he makes the movie on a like low $500,000 budget. And he apparently, the part of the appeal, according to Wiki, for Gordon making this movie is that it's the first film since Reanimator that he could release without a rating. So he could give the final cut himself, and I guess he wouldn't be censored as much as he had been in some of his other... Was From Beyond really censored too much? I don't know. I guess
it had a hard time getting an R rating.
And so he had complete control, which is, I think, why he was excited about doing this project. So, shot in Italy at Charles Band's infamous castle, which I think we talked about briefly in the last episode. Stuart Gordon also shot the Pit and the Pendulum remake, which is funny because we were talking about the original Pit and the Pendulum a little bit last week. And it reunited Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, who, of course, worked together on Reanimator. They worked together in From Beyond. I think the last thing they collaborated together on was Pulse Pounders, the anthology movie that came out in '88. I don't know if they had scenes together in that film or not. But they work so well off of each other. They just really have great chemistry. So I hadn't seen Castle Freak in a while. I think I watched it for the first time just a few years ago, and I'm in my early 30s now. But when I was going through like the Stuart Gordon catalog, and I think I just watched From Beyond, and I'd heard a lot about Castle Freak, and I knew they were doing a remake. I think that's probably when I watched the original, when I heard they were doing a remake a couple years ago. And we'll get into the remake. Oh boy. But this movie, yeah, it isn't... Even though not a lot happens, at least especially in the first half, I feel like it's paced pretty well. Like, talking about it with Kris as he was watching it and I hadn't watched it yet, I remembered it being slower than it was. For me, I wasn't really bored throughout it, because part of that is Jeffrey Combs is so engaging, I think, in this movie. He's just kind of driven with lust and kind of guilt, and he's just, Jeffrey Combs drunk is my favorite Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
He's so
the
good
one time
in
he
this
really
scene.
feels like Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, he just this scene where he goes to a bar and he's just like drowning his sorrows, and a lady of the night, shall we say, approaches him. Oh my god, his reactions are incredible. Yeah, he's another one of those guys like Vincent Price that just kind of, he just savors every line in this movie. He's just so engaging to watch. But yeah, so he gets so the backstory is he's inherited this castle from a relative of his that we don't know his relation to the relative right away, I don't think.
No, we don't right away.
But he takes his family, his wife, who he's estranged with since because of their backstory, which you guys got into, and his daughter, who is now blind. And so they get into this castle, and it's a really cool set because it's an actual castle. You have the guy that's like in charge of the estate showing them around, and there's something lurking underneath the castle.
Really giving off the haunting vibes. You must not stay. You must sell and then leave. Like if the caretaker of the castle is wanting you to leave as soon as possible, then something might be going on.
Yeah.
Generally my rule.
This is said to be based off of the H.P. Lovecraft story, The Outsider, which not really. Very loosely. I think Stuart Gordon did that so that he would get people to think it's like the Reanimator. And another Lovecraft adaptation, right? And From Beyond, also loosely Lovecraft. This super loosely.
That feels Lovecraft though. From Beyond very much feels Lovecraft. I mean, it's so like phantasmagorical and so much insane imagery and it doesn't necessarily feel like a Lovecraft movie, at least not a traditional one.
Well, it's because people tend to do only stuff kind of relating to cosmic horror and consider that Lovecraft. He did have a
which
lot
From
of
Beyond
stuff that
feels
was
like.
published that would be considered more gothic horror. This is one of them. Weird Tales published it. Weird Tales published everything. They were a big pulp magazine. They did a lot of stuff, and this the story's about a guy that's in a castle. He doesn't know how long he's been there. It's told from the castle freak's point of view, basically, and half of the story is him trying to escape the castle. The second half is him making his way to a house where a party's going on, and everyone sees him and freaks out. And he's like, why are people freaking out? And he turns around and he sees this monster. It's just like, they go on and they describe how fucked up it is. And then he reaches out and touches the monster. He gets freaked out. He runs out of the party. And then the end of the story is him revealing he got freaked out and ran away because when he reached out and touched the monster and they touched fingers, he felt glass. So it was a mirror that he was touching.
What a twist.
It didn't really live up to the potential that the beginning of the story brought up, but that actually was back then a pretty original twist. But it was enough that he sold his work, which he had trouble selling a lot of it. So it did get published. It did get sold. And kind of an obscure one to make a movie out of.
Yeah. I mean, they had that scene in the movie too, so...
Yeah, he goes up to the mirror.
Key elements of the story in there enough to be like, oh yeah, it's Lovecraft.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so we need him locked up in a castle, and we need a mirror in it.
Yeah,
but
it's like the first half of it is the story.
but his story, the freak doesn't know how to talk because he's really smart. He's read a ton of books, but he's never heard a person speak.
Okay.
And he doesn't remember even contacting other people. He says that maybe he kind of remembers a caretaker early on, but they were really old and died. And so he was fending for himself since he was a child. They don't really get into details of how. And a lot of the story is him climbing this really tall tower to get out. Which there's also a cool twist that you think he's climbing to like the top of the castle, but he gets out and he's on ground level, and that's kind of cool. But so he's underground in a crypt, kind of like this movie a little bit. But the changes to the story to make it more modern, you're gonna have a million changes, right? I mean, it's the nature of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like having him talk kind of ruins the scenes where he's more menacing. Him going, no. And I'm like, oh, come on. You weren't fucking talking earlier. And I thought he had his tongue removed, but maybe not.
So the backstory of the freak. So the Duchess of the castle, I think it's Jeffrey Combs' character. His father was in a relationship with her. They had a child, and he dipped shortly after that and married Jeffrey Combs' mother, I think. And the Duchess, in retaliation, said, you know what? I'm going to beat the shit out of our kid.
I will punish the child.
Because you left me, so fuck this kid.
Because reasons.
And the world thinks he's dead.
Yeah, so he's kept locked up in a chamber, and he turns into a monster over the course of the years, somehow through this torture, and she chops off his penis at some point. Sorry, that's a spoiler. Because she was bored one day.
Not the life you want to live. I wonder what would happen if I did this here.
I don't know how it got to that point where she's like, like what he did. She got to the point like, you know what, I'm getting your dick. Like, that's it.
Well, it was to get revenge on all of the men that wronged her. They said so. She cut his dick off. It makes sense.
But did she do that like right away when he was like a baby? Or did she wait
maybe
until he just pissed her off enough one day?
I mean, she clearly left his balls, so he was still getting testosterone and growing into what would be considered like, male secondary sexual traits.
Yeah.
Like he grew up and, I mean, he's not really muscular, but he's kind of muscular and skeletal. He's skinny fat. He's skinny fat.
No, I mean, he looks kind of like one of the characters from like Wrong Turn or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except his balls are hanging out and getting a lot of shots.
You think the fact that he's like wearing a sheet for most of the movie was a stylistic choice or a way of like sort of hiding some of the prosthetics or makeup?
Maybe just not having to put the whole suit on.
Yeah, it was probably a time-saving thing. But I thought it looked cool.
It gives him a little bit of a Phantom of the Opera type of thing.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for the character because he's ashamed of himself and he's trying to kind of hide his figure.
So of course the figure, no sheet.
I mean, I had a blinky and I took it with me everywhere I went when I was a boy of 21.
Yeah. Wait, there's a Castle Freak action figure?
Yeah.
Of course there is.
Is it one of the movie Maniacs?
No, it's one of the Full Moon toys when they first started the company.
Oh, okay.
It comes with like a little thing that you're supposed to put over him that looks like a sheet. He has rooted hair. It's like when they did Radu and they did the Puppet Master figures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he's like 8 inches. He's a pretty big figure. It doesn't look great, but it looks like a fucked up Barbie kind of.
They're old figures.
I want to see this Castle Freak Barbie.
Because it's the rooted hair that doesn't know favors.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, the Crypt Keeper hair,
And he's got a loincloth. I don't know how detailed they got underneath it. Because it's a fabric loincloth.
So, the most memorable scene of the movie, I guess we can get into some spoilers here. So, while Jeffrey Combs is in his inebriated state, he meets a lady of the night and takes her back to the castle, underneath the castle. And they have a very brief session of lovemaking.
Oh, I can confirm that the figure has no dick, but it's just completely smooth, so he has no balls either.
Okay.
They did another version that wasn't clothed, apparently.
I don't know. It seemed like pretty standard interaction with the Lady of the Night.
Yeah, pretty much. He, lasted about 60 seconds and he's like, you gotta go. And so he leaves and then the freak shows up and kidnaps the poor lady. The most memorable image in this movie is when he's trying to take advantage of this woman, rape this woman, and he bites her nipple off. I do remember that very vividly.
That's the moment where you sit up in the movie.
Yeah. Like, oh
okay.
no.
Things are getting weird.
Yeah. And then she feels him, and that's when you discover he has no phallus. And yeah, and that's when all the gentlemen in the audience grab their groins as they're watching the movie and going, oh no.
You just hear a lot of, ay.
They're sure to show you a close-up. See, that's where the unrated part came in, because if it was an R-rated movie, they would not have showed that.
Yeah. It's and then the movie just kind of takes a pretty spiral turn from there. Jeffrey Combs is accused of killing this or kidnapping this woman. She's disappeared. He was the last person.
Which makes sense.
Barbara Crampton is like, you brought someone back here, you fucker, and
Rightfully
and she disappears.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I was lonely. Okay.
This guy is such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's like, I was lonely. Okay.
Yeah, and then the wife and daughter don't leave fast enough, so they're forced to stay there overnight while he gets taken for questioning.
Mm-hmm.
What could possibly go wrong?
I do like how the Castle Freak is sometimes sleuthy. Like at the beginning of the movie, he's like hobbling around, with his broken hand and just like making noise and stuff like that. But then Jeffrey Combs comes into a room and he immediately like freezes underneath his blanket and acts really still, like he's a figure underneath a sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Only
we
so
get
he
a
can
payoff for later
sneak up
when
on him.
he eats a police officer doing that, which is
It's
a
like,
great scene.
okay. So he's
Yeah.
a monster. He's a mongoloid, and he's probably not super intelligent, but he knows when to be sleuthy. He knows
Yeah,
when to. He's had practice on sneaking up on people.
Yeah. He gets that cat.
Yeah, it's probably to eat rats and shit that come in his cage. He's got to be
that
all
poor
sneaky.
cat. That
Yeah.
poor cat.
You knew the cat was coming the second he was on the screen. Too.
Yeah.
You're like, they're gonna eat that fucking cat and then cut to the credits, but they waited a little longer than I thought.
What kind of whip is in this movie? Because the whip is a very prominent object in the
It's a
film.
cat of nine tails, man.
Cat of nine tails? Okay. Because that is what, like, the tool that was used most against the titular freak as a child. And so he uses it to beat his mother to death at the beginning of the movie.
See, if they never banned the Chamber of Horrors at medieval times, you would know this, Zach, but they got rid of it.
It might have been there when I went when I was like 10 years old.
I grew up going to church, so I know all about the cat of nine tails.
I went when I was 10 and they had the Chamber of Horrors, and it was all me and my friend can talk about for months. How fucked up that shit was. Oh man.
If it was there when I went, we did not go into it. I mean, I was like 10 years old and we just, got food and watched the show.
The scene where the castle freak discovers the cat of nine tails and just like unleashes hell on that room. It's such a good scene.
It is, and it's freaky because they're in the cabinet the whole time. He starts hitting the cabinet. It's so good, dude.
Yeah, and then like she peeks out of that just top square, and you're like, it was that open. Like they were this close. Yeah. It was a good
maybe
scene.
not have her in there while you're hitting the thing and breaking it would be a good idea from a safety standpoint on the set, but it was pretty cool, man. Yeah. That was a good scene.
There was oh, what were you gonna say?
I feel like this is a good movie. It's just you got to get through some stuff.
It is. Yeah, I think it's great. There's some really just cool scenes with the freak. Like it's cool, but I also got a laugh out of it where they're walking down the hall and the girl's arm knocks a vase down and you just hear his feet and he's just there. Like it reminds me around of those, the corner. You're like
the little duck videos on TikTok where the cute little duckling runs on linoleum and you hear the little feet.
Yeah, that was adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the cool running threads throughout the movie is the daughter, the blind daughter. She hears the freak and no one else does. And so she's onto it before everybody else. She knows there's someone else in the castle and people don't believe her right away. Mm-hmm. And I think Jeffrey Combs, what does he find what is his evidence that he realizes there is someone else in the castle? I forget what it is that he presents to the police officers.
Oh,
well, he says that the mirror is one, right?
Yeah, the mirror and then the kid's grave.
Oh, right.
Being empty.
Yeah.
Which is not evidence of someone being there by any stretch of the imagination.
Of a grave being robbed. But the climactic scene on the rooftop, I think, is pretty well done.
I disagree.
No.
And I'm going to tell you why. And this is a little bit of a spoiler. Kevin, I need you to be with me on this one, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so
Kev, don't be influenced. Don't be swayed.
You've got the freak. He's been murdering people. We've seen him eat a dude's eyeball like right before this. It was awesome. And he's on the roof, okay? And he's got this chain and he's just beating the shit out of Jeffrey Combs, right? And then it's time for Jeffrey Combs to make his comeback, okay? He picks up the chain and then he does the fucking thing that every pro wrestling chain match has ever done. He gets the chain and he puts it on and he's like, I got you now, motherfucker. And he starts reeling him in. And you're like, oh, he's going to beat the shit out of this guy with the chain. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be this big fight. No, he just jumps off the fucking roof.
Yeah. Okay. They could have elaborated a little more there.
Yeah.
He's like, the movie has to end now.
I mean, I can kind of give him points for the idea because the castle freak has overpowered so many people and he just got the shit kicked out of him previously. Like he beat him with that chain pretty hard.
But I don't know, he could take a hit. He took a nightstick to the face pretty well, got right up.
I feel like it's a straw that broke the camel's back. Like he's gotten knocked down multiple times at this point. He just ran a marathon to get there. Think of the stairs he had to go up to get to the roof.
This is true. This is true. But I got that reminds me, Kev, we got to talk about the police station.
Yeah.
He gets hit in the head with a nightstick by this cop, and I get it. You know, he's mad at this cop. When he goes to knock the cop out, he smacks that motherfucker right in the brainstem with the nightstick. He's going for a killing blow right there.
Yeah.
That guy would have been so dead. Also, if you pay attention, it bends the shitty foam nightstick and it's in the shot.
I totally missed that.
Yeah.
That's just how hard his head was.
Yeah, you see him go like this. And I'm sorry, not a video podcast. You see him hold the nightstick up in the shot before he drops it, and it's bent. Yeah. Just like, oh my God, why did you include that shot, Stuart? Come on. But yeah, that cop would have been dead as shit if you get hit with a nightstick in the base of your skull. Yeah,
But
come on.
It's setting up storytelling there. It's showing how weak Jeffrey Combs is.
Okay,
He's not
I got
strong enough to kill him with the
Yeah.
nightstick. It just
Okay.
knocks him out, and then he gets his ass kicked even more.
You know, Full Moon owes you their version of the Marvel No Prize for that rationalization there. But I think it works. So yeah, his only choice was to jump off the roof. Then okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I want to know how the Castle Freak got his super strength, because technically he should just be like famished as shit and like have nothing.
I mean, he just ate a
Like, no
cat,
energy.
so he's got cat energy.
He's got cat energy.
That's like nothing new. Like,
I mean, is he like?
The chains were like training weights, dude. Like the chains just bogged them down, right?
Yeah,
So, like,
it was like those guys that just whip those giant ropes
Yep.
back and forth. That's basically
Yeah.
his life, is that 24/7, but metal chains.
yeah, which is more hardcore than ropes.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Chris?
I was just saying, I feel like that's nothing new in horror movies. There's like tons of cases where there's like some monster creature that lives in, the woods. I mean, damn it, what's that movie that came out recently that has the freak living down in the cellar?
Oh, Barbarian.
Barbarian, yeah.
Yes.
It's like how did that
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Sorry for Barbarian. It's been like a year. It's fine. Yeah, like how did any of these like freaks get their strength?
This
I
movie
guess they're
does.
just doing a lot of push-ups in between.
Barbarian definitely, I feel like, probably took some cues from Castle Freak. The definitely has some similarities. The remake of Castle Freak probably has even more similarities to Barbarian. Also, kind of similarities to the movie Splice, if you guys remember that movie.
I hated that.
Barely.
It's terrible. It's very.
I
it's
remember the
bad.
one scene in Splice.
The remake, very similar to Splice. I'll just say that.
Splice.
Interesting.
Oh, that's not a good.
I will get into the remake in a sec,
Huh.
but yeah, I definitely think the freak was doing some pull-ups in the cell he was in, just preparing himself.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're in prison? You work out a lot, right?
Yeah. He's also got like adrenaline pumping through him, like to an insane degree, if he's willing to like take off a thumb.
Yeah.
You guys have any closing thoughts on Castle Freak 1995, directed by Stuart Gordon?
Can we talk about where you should and shouldn't watch this movie?
Yeah.
Because I'll say this: Stuart Gordon is like such a versatile director, because this doesn't look like Reanimator From Beyond.
Mhm.
This looks more like what I would expect a Full Moon movie to look like, where it's using more of like the real locations and kind of going for a more realistic, not as stylized look to it. There's no like neon green or neon pink anywhere in this movie.
Well, I think in general, like, I mean, isn't like Full Moon films are a little lower budget than like the Empire International Picture
Yeah,
productions.
it kind of
right?
looked like a made-for-TV movie for the 90s. But also that could have been the fact that I watched this on Shudder, and it didn't help. The cinematography didn't help the fact that this looked worse than VHS on Shudder.
Yeah, I don't know why
4x3.
Shudder is showing the 4x3 version. Tubi, widescreen, high definition, looks great.
The one on Shudder is definitely a VHS rip, like
Yeah.
ripped straight from VHS, because it looks
Was this filmed in 4:3 or filmed in widescreen? Because I don't know, like, if it was
The
reformatted.
2B one is in widescreen, right? So it has
It
to
is.
be widescreen. So
Yes.
then it had to have been filmed in widescreen.
Yeah, Full Moon didn't shoot in 4:3 usually, I don't think. Trauma did.
Yeah.
Why does Shudder have the VHS rip of it? Why do they have the same version that Tubi does? That
I
doesn't
don't
make any
know.
sense.
I think Tubi has the same version on the Full Moon app. Is the Full Moon app, because that's what I watched it on, and it looked
Yeah,
their
their
great.
videos are the same videos as the Full Moon app, 100%.
It was a pretty messy cut of the film, though, in spots. Like, the film had some like major dirt on it in spots on the Full Moon app, but and you could tell when it
interesting.
cut to a different, like, a shot would be like
The
really bright.
reels.
Yeah, I just straight up assumed like Shudder would have the default better version.
Yeah.
Especially better than Tubi.
I don't know. Having watched their Night of the Living Dead broadcast, ooh.
This is the rare case when I was definitely proven wrong.
Their Little Shop of Horrors and Night of the Living Dead have shown me differently. That's for sure.
The Little Shop of Horrors one was a rough version.
That movie was white, like the whole freaking movie. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I need to go back and watch Head of the Family again, because I wonder if that's a VHS rip or something that Shudder has.
I don't remember it being 4:3 though.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Because I feel like Joe Bob would be like, don't give me 4:3. Come on.
Well, he did Castle Freak too, was one of the movies he did.
Did he do the 4:3 version then? Or did we just get fucked in the standalone?
I don't know.
Damn. Because I didn't watch his broadcast to Castle Freak because I've seen the movie a million times.
Yeah. I mean, we could go back and see, because if the movie's on Shudder, then the Joe Bob version will be on Shudder.
That's true. That's true. They still have the rights. It's not one of the weird ones.
Yeah.
Does Joe Bob do Castle Freak?
Yeah. Joe Bob did Castle Freak.
Okay, cool.
I think it was season 1 or maybe
One
the
or
actual
two.
the first marathon. He did it. I can't remember.
It was early on. I remember that.
Yeah.
but yeah. Damn. I give this a solid 3 stars. That was my original rating from like whenever I started my Letterboxd account, but it's, I gave it a solid 3.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty good movie. If you're going in with having experienced Stuart Gordon's earlier films, it's not one of those kind of movies. It's more of a serious kind of downer movie. It's not really. It's a bit bleak in spots, but I think it's great. But you can definitely see elements of his transition into his later films, which were just more. They weren't as colorful. They were more of a serious and dramatic. Yeah.
I liked it when he had fun more.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get it though. Once you kill those kids, you can't have a funny romp after that. Like it has to be serious after that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to know why he sort of abandoned the camp aspect of his horror movies after From Beyond, because especially if you've got Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, making a movie together with Freak, like, put some humor in there, put something, put a little bit more tongue-in-cheek stuff in there to spice things up a little bit, because I feel like that's what's missing from this.
Maybe he thought he couldn't top that.
I don't know.
Or that everyone started doing it,
Yeah.
Like he stood out because he was one of the few doing it, and then it kind of.
I mean, and I think like Dead Alive came out a little before Castle Freak, and he probably was like, "Well, shit."
Yeah.
I can't. That's hard competition there.
Still,
Yeah.
though, this movie has at least one scene where it's kind of like, oh dear God, like if there was more stuff like that in the movie, then it would definitely like stand out more.
Yeah. It was. I wonder. Was Brian Usna doing his own stuff at this point? Because that was his old collaborator Like I don't know the timeline between something like this and Society and stuff where
which totally carried the vibe over, right? Like
yeah.
I mean, he was doing The Dentist by this point,
Okay.
and The Dentist was kind of it carried it over. Yeah, because he'd already been doing like Return of the Living Dead and stuff like that, part 3.
Yeah.
So he was doing his own stuff by now. Yeah. So maybe he was the reason for all that.
Yeah, because Brian Usna never left that kind of camp. Like he carried it into the 90s with like Faust and like all that stuff.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Faust.
Yeah.
That's
He was Society, right? Didn't he do Society?
Yeah,
Brian
he did
Usna?
Society.
Yeah. He had his own level of fucked up.
Shout out to the effects in this real quick. Optic Nerve did it. I'm not sure if this is when Glenn Hetrick was with them or when he left and then eventually came back and owned the place. But Optic Nerve does some good stuff. But a lot of it's him. So I'm wondering if it's him doing that. But so guys, star ratings out of 5. I gave it a 3.
Yeah. 3.
Also 3.
I'm a 3 for sure too.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, we are all
It's a
completely
solid 3.
Yeah. I think this is one of the first unanimous decisions we've had on the show, and we have an extra person.
Yeah.
You know what would have made this better if he also brought back Ken Faree from Beyond and he was like the police inspector or something in this movie.
Yeah.
That would have
And he had to speak Italian the whole time.
Yeah. and he duked it out with the Castle Freak. That would
Yeah.
have been
Yeah,
awesome.
you know what would have been nice? Some fucking subtitles for all the Italian.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I was really surprised, especially like the scene with the lady
They
of the
wanted
night.
you to
Like,
feel confused, just like the Americans feel.
No, but there's a
confused.
whole scene where he talks to the the police officer talks to the maid lady, and they do not translate anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, please.
so we are not done talking about Castle Freak though, gentlemen, because this movie was remade a couple years ago in 2020. What a year that was. And it was directed by Tate Steinziak, who, if you're a fan of the TV show Face Off, the reality competition makeup effect show, great show on Sci-Fi. He was featured on multiple seasons. I think he was runner-up twice. Really fantastic makeup artist. So he directed this movie. It was produced by Barbara Crampton and a couple others. Also set in a castle. I think it's in Albania this time. And man, this is quite the remake. I don't know where to begin with this movie because I'm the only one that has seen it, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen
yes.
it.
Okay, so it is also loosely based on Lovecraft's The Outsider as well as the Dunwich Horror. It has many elements from the Dunwich Horror short story.
Two
So
very different stories.
Yes. They went... it was rumored, like, they said, like, in the production of this that they were going to add a lot more Lovecraft to it, and they were not joking. This is, like, full Lovecraft, especially the second half of the movie. So the biggest change right off the bat, outside of the fact that it's not like a family of 3 getting this castle, it's a couple. You're introduced to a girl and her douchebag boyfriend. They get into a car accident, and you're hoping, oh, God, I hope the boyfriend is killed in this car accident because he's terrible. And no, you're stuck with him the whole movie. He survives. She gets blind. She inherits a castle. Turns out her mom left her the castle after she passed away. She doesn't know anything about her mom. So they get this castle. Again, really beautiful set. I'm sorry, this movie is ridiculous. So it starts off somewhat promisingly. You see the freak makeup looks pretty good. They have a group of friends that you meet at the very beginning of the movie, and they invite them to the castle. So the second half of this movie kind of turns into a slasher of sorts. But one of the characters is just called Professor throughout the entire movie. He's a student, but he's just called Professor. That's like if I called you Professor the entire episode, Casey, or if I called Kris the Criterion Kid the whole episode and never used her first name.
I've had it happen.
I mean, my favorite show is about a character who just is referred to as Doctor. So
I know, but it's a little silly because he's just like, I don't know, some 20-something dude that is like so serious throughout the movie. So he's like that, archetype character in like a horror movie that's really nerdy and into like all the supernatural stuff. But he went to a university that does not exist in real life, but it exists in Lovecraft lore. If you know the university I'm talking about.
Miskatonic University.
Yep. He's wearing a Miskatonic University shirt in the movie. So About midway through this movie, I don't want to spoil everything, but they find the Necronomicon in the castle.
Jesus Christ.
So the freak is gender swapped. It is a female. So no dickless monsters there.
Well, still technically, yes.
But she is just as
She's
just
still
as horny.
dickless, bro.
She is just as it is. Yeah, it is true. She is still dickless. She is just as horny as the monster in the original. Perhaps maybe more so. So the one of the most memorable scenes in the movie. I don't want to spoil everything, but the douchebag boyfriend cheats on the blind girl, who's the lead character in the film. Once the friends have come to the castle, he cheats on her with another girl in this group, and they're making out. They're having sex. During the middle of sex, he's blindfolded during the scene. The monster comes, kills the girl, and then jumps on him and starts riding him.
Oh, wow.
And goes down on him too.
Wow, so they
He
ripped
doesn't
off
notice.
so they ripped off single white female.
Yeah. Again, if you've seen Splice, there's a very similar kind of scene in that.
Oh
movie
yeah,
that
yeah, there too.
Except Splice, that guy knew what he was. Adrian Brody knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah. So basically, so instead of the pretty kind of basic backstory in the original, all things considered, this is the mom's like father, the girl's mom who gave her the castle, who you think is a bad guy, kind of like in the original, and berated her daughter and tortured her. No, she was impregnated by her father, who was part of like cult of Lovecraftian cult, and they did it to try and summon Yog Sothoth, and produce some demon spawn. And the lead girl, I guess I'm just spoiling everything, is the twin of this freak. That
Good times.
Fairly similar. There you go.
So I don't want to say what happens at the end of the movie, but there are some good like kills and things like that. The practical effects are probably a little more in your face than the original.
It's really the only thing I've heard ever praised about this movie are the kills, actually.
Yeah. I think I would give it like a 2 out of 5. If you want to see a giant Lovecraft slug tentacle shoot out of a monster's gaping vagina, this is the movie for you.
I mean, there's others.
The other thing this film does, there's a mid-credit tease.
Wow.
Like a Marvel-style MCU like tease. I don't know,
Wow.
for a sequel they never made, in which they tease an
Yes.
appearance from a certain scientist that was the star of the film Reanimator. And I will leave you with that.
So we have something to look forward to.
Yes, a film that has not been made.
I mean, yet. This is a fairly recent movie, right?
There's
So.
some pretty hammy dialogue. The performances aren't all great. I think the lead actress was fine. You're just kind of with a lot of unlikable characters for most of it, and it's just pretty silly. But if you want to see some crunchy kills and some kind of perverted stuff, I don't know. Just the places this movie went in the second half of the film, my like jaw was like unhinged throughout most of it because I just could not believe what they were doing. But it's entertaining, and if nothing else, it's very memorable. So yeah.
I say, while we're here, we make Kevin roll for our next topic.
Well, I
We
agree.
will do that. We will do that. But before we get to that, last week we asked you guys, listeners at home, what are your favorite castles in pop culture? And we have your responses.
Okay.
And Kevin, actually, you're here, so I want to ask you, what is your favorite castle in pop culture, film, TV, real life, a toy set? Just like, is there like a really memorable castle that you always held near and dear?
It's totally
to your heart?
Castle Jove. I would totally go with the Full Moon Castle.
Okay, so all of your He-Man figures behind you mean nothing, apparently.
That's a second. Grayskull is second, but Castle Jove, all like it's the iconic horror movie castle for me.
I mean, we've seen it in like 40 movies at this point. Right?
Yeah, featured in Castle Freak.
Yeah, and secretly in other movies because he rented the castle out to a lot of friends to use and stuff too.
I mean,
so.
what you would do if you had a castle, it's just smart.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
gets to write that castle off. I mean, I don't know what the tax situation would be with it being in another country, but yeah.
He doesn't have it anymore. It's gone. Yeah.
Such a
They-
shame.
He still has like a little spot in Italy below the castle that they dug up and discovered it was like a fortress and a mill. And so he's got like little cabanas and a pool there and stuff. He talks about it. And if you want a good in-depth bit of full moon history, the Confessions of a Puppet Master is a really good book. And
Oh, nice.
I have not got to the castle part yet.
Oh,
Shit.
yeah, no, it gets really, really good. It's a very interesting book. The audio book is great too. And it makes a good companion with the it came from the video aisle. Is that
Yeah,
the
which I
other one?
love that book and recommend it so
Yeah.
much. Yes.
And that details like Empire and all that from everyone else's perspective. So Charles Band is very rose-colored glasses about a lot of things. And the other book goes into everyone else's attitudes.
But to be fair, he's selling that other book. I bought that from Full Moon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he signs it.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's get into our viewer responses. So from Al Topic on Instagram, thank you for chiming in, Al. He said, I've always been partial to Castle Elsinore in the movie Strange Brew. That's a great castle. There's a really, the scene where Rick Moranis' character is like stuck in, it's like, what is it, like the beer vat or something, and he's like super fat because he just like drinks all the beer. Yeah, Castle Elsinore, Strange Brew, fun movie.
Thank you,
Really
Al.
fun.
I know Al.
The Canadian Wayne's World.
I mean, Mike Myers is Canadian, but yeah.
My friend John Kretzu on Instagram, John K, says, my vote for a favorite castle is the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland Paris. Like all castles, it soars into the air and takes the breath away, but hides a dark, scary secret. But for deep down in its dank depths, there is a moldering grotto of water and mist. Home to a miraculous audio animatronic dragon sister to Maleficent in the 50s animated masterpiece, her tail slowly flicks, her nostrils steam, and every few minutes she raises her gloriously sinewy, black-scaled neck and head and roars into the grotto, bringing ghoulish delight to kids and adults alike. Thank you, John, for that wonderful
it's pretty
response.
awesome. If you've never seen a video of it, look it up. It looks so freaking cool.
Yeah, I'm doing that right after this.
Yeah,
Look it up.
it's a really cool animatronic, and the whole scene and atmosphere to it is just great.
Cool.
So I got a message from my brother, Matthew Jordan Music on Instagram. Check him out. Really great music. And he said, I got to tour King John's Castle when I was in Limerick, Ireland for a gig, and that was amazing. Looking up King John's Castle, yeah, that is a fortified castle there. That looks sturdy. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like you could like launch a catapult at that thing and it would hold pretty well.
We need more horror movies with siege weapons.
If we were playing like Weapons and Warriors, I'd want this castle.
You know, they tried kickstarting that. I don't know how that went. I don't think it went as well as Hero Quest did.
I got that game for Christmas one year, and man, it is a blast.
Yeah. Even if you're playing by yourself, just shooting stuff down when you're an only child with no friends that like board games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So another response we got on Instagram from my pal Alex Zara Pexela on Instagram said, Castle Bam. I believe that is Bam Margera's castle.
I got you.
A less fortified castle than King John's.
Well, I bet they wish it was now.
Castle Bam. Yeah, that's a good one, Alex. That was a good one. Castle-y. It's a castle-like facade for sure. And our good buddy Joe, who we gave a shout out last week, says The Castle and Horror of Dracula, 1958, and of course The Castle and Young Frankenstein.
Oh,
those are classics.
Great ones.
Young Frankenstein Castle. Can't go wrong there. And last but not least, our buddies from our Neon Lords group chimed in with a couple of responses, so I will share theirs. Mm-hmm. Byron said he'd heard good things about, he said he's been to Neuschwanstein. I'm already butchering this, I know.
Neuschwanstein
Castle, which is that in Germany?
Yeah.
That is a gorgeous castle that looks like it inspired Hogwarts.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at pictures of that castle.
They might have shot Hogwarts there.
It's a beautiful castle. I mean, that is a castle.
I definitely recognized wherever they shot some scenes at the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons were definitely it's the same castle they used in several scenes from the Harry Potter series.
Yeah. And our buddy Ernie said Dracula's Castle, even though it's also real. I mean, Dracula's Castle, that's the like castle I think of just in general, Dracula's Castle. And he also mentioned Hearst Castle, which Casey brought up last week. So
Yes, and Byron also said Castle Grayskull, which we already talked about. I don't think he's really a He-Man guy. I think he's faking.
Yeah.
Because he spelled Grayskull wrong.
Yeah, I think he saw my Castle Grayskull and was like, "Oh yeah, that's a castle."
Not gray either.
No.
if you guys had to like, if you had a castle, like what is one feature you'd want in your castle? Like for sure.
An oubliette for my enemies.
Yes.
There you go.
Explain to the listeners, Kevin.
It's a big pit with spikes at the bottom you push people into.
I forget the technical name. Maybe you can help me out on this. The little hole that you would pour acid or hot coals on people if they tried to get in.
Oh.
I forget the name of it. There is a name for it, but that's what I want. I want the fucking acid holes. Yeah.
See, what happens if you fall in one of the acid holes, though?
No, they're not that big. It's like a little hole that you just dump stuff down on people.
Casey, would you use it for acid or would you just get big buckets of slime, like 80s toy slime, and drip it down onto people?
Blob slime that eats. So like a combination of the two.
Chris, what do you want in a castle?
I was always taken with the kid. There's in the movie The Blank Check, the kid has like a water slide from his office up at the top floor down to the pool. So yeah, I'll definitely install a water slide in my just to have an office up at the top. So that
I was thinking the exact same thing, Chris, except I was thinking of the super fun happy slide in the Treehouse of Horrors Dracula segment. Bart sees that, ooh, super fun happy slide.
Sounds like Kevin and I are the only ones defending the castle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be attacked pretty
Chris
quick.
and I had different approaches.
We are 12 years old.
Thank you so much to everybody that chimed in and gave their responses. Really cool. Really had fun reading them and sharing them. So that was awesome. But gentlemen, it is that time. We have to pick a new theme. And Kevin, you are our guest of honor.
Okay.
So I want you to help us out here.
So Kevin, go to Google really quick on your
Okay.
browser. Okay. And then how many choices do we have, Zach?
Again, he can just do to 43 or something like that.
Okay,
and,
roll
we'll
a
pick from-
D43. So you could just type in the search bar, roll a D43. It'll probably give you a dice roller. That's how I usually do it.
Okay. Let's see.
Or you could just roll
11.
a D100. Ooh, 11. Okay, that's one of
11.
our early ones.
11 is KNNB FX movies.
KNB effects movies. Yes.
Ooh.
KNB effects movies. Okay.
Explain KNB for listeners that don't know who they are, Casey.
Okay. They are one of the biggest, most awesome effects houses. So if you know Kurtzman, or if you know Berger, or if you know the G guy whose name escapes me,
Greg Nicotero, who
yeah.
probably most people know from Walking Dead.
yeah. So you have Nicotero. Okay? Hold on. And now I got to look it up. Rewind. KMB Effects Group was the group founded by Robert Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, and Howard Berger. Okay. And they have all gone on to many things in the industry. The guy that's name begins with the N that we kind of forget, Nicotero. You guys never heard of Greg Nicotero. I don't know. But
I was reading about him last night in a book that I'm reading, the Shaun of the Dead story. You've Got Red on You, because apparently he was one of the first early people to see the movie.
Oh man, The Hidden is a KNB FX Group production. Oh man.
yeah, so they did quite a few awesome
Sibling rivalry.
things, but so yeah, they removed They removed some of the movies from streaming that I'd like to watch.
Oh, Night of the Creeps.
Yeah, they did Night of the Creeps. They did Army of
We've
Darkness.
already talked about Night of the Creeps.
They did Dr. Giggles, which keeps getting removed. They keep removing Dr. Giggles from shit, which is really unfortunate because
Don't
I would
give
love
too much
to
away, guys, because we don't
Yeah.
want to disappoint
Yeah,
people.
we have covered some KNF BFX group films like Day of the Dead, which is Tom Savini month, but that was also KNB.
KNB, just KNB.
KNB, and Night of the Creeps. So we have talked about a couple of their movies in the past, but it's going to be awesome to kind of dig into their deeper catalog next month. So that'll be a lot of fun.
And I could guarantee one of them will not be Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Fuck that movie.
Isn't Greg Nicotero, he's in charge of the new Creep Show, right? On Shudder.
Yeah, and Walking Dead. And yeah, he's by far kind of like Eclipse people, which is weird because like for a while the other guys were better known.
Yeah.
Which is just like really weird. But yeah, because it's like Berger went into like more mainstream stuff. So he did like the Narnia movies and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he was pretty well known like in a highbrow sense.
Yeah.
Kurtzman doesn't do a whole lot of stuff now, but he did do Hill House recently, you know, the Netflix one. But
what?
Yeah,
what is Rob Schneider's The Animals?
Yeah, there was effects work in that.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You got to remember, like, even if they just need like an animal or something, you know, but lately, like, yeah, he did so Kurtzman did the makeup for Tusk, which is the most recent standout that was insane.
Yeah.
All right, we should probably save this for our actual K&B episode.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
But that'll be fun. And Casey, hopefully you're here with us both episodes next month, but we will see. I know you're going to be on vacation, so if we need someone to fill in for you, maybe we'll grab Kevin again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, we're going to make you watch fucking Misery.
It's not
Pocket
that bad
Duty.
of a movie.
I love Misery.
Yeah.
Misery's good.
Yeah.
I love
Read
Misery myself.
The book's a million times better.
I think the movie is fantastic, but that's just me. Before we go, I do want to say I watched the first episode of Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai. It's great. Really enjoyed it. Kevin, have you seen it yet?
I haven't. But I was on the lot when they were making it, and yeah, it looked like it was going to be pretty cool.
Got the Joe Dante seal of approval.
I'm still not sure where it fits in like the timeline of the movie universe because he still has
It's a
the name.
prequel.
But he still has the name Gizmo, which Billy's dad gives him in the film.
It's bullshit. It makes no sense, but
Yeah.
it's still a prequel.
I mean, technically, he's saying it's like Gizmo, and the kid just says Gizmo, and he's like, sure, whatever. Like that's how he reacts because he's mispronouncing it. But
Just like what we do in the shadows.
Yeah. I would say it seems it's aimed at a younger audience a bit, but like adults, fans of the franchise are still going to enjoy it. It's really cute. Gizmo is still adorable in animated form. The art style is really pleasant and beautiful to look at. I'm really into it so far. It's just one episode in. James Hong is still doing his thing, man, at 95 years old. Hell yeah.
Flasher
He's
Gremlin's
great.
back.
Is he?
Yeah, he's in it.
I need to watch. I gotta. Hopefully, he's in the second
Makes
episode.
no sense timeline wise.
No, it makes no sense. But just enjoy it for what it is.
Reference. It needs to be in there because reference.
You're not. I don't think you're going to be seeing them. I mean, obviously it's in the 20s, so you're not going to be seeing them launch a lady in a wheelchair out of a 2-story, house. But it's fun and it's really cute, and I'm just happy that anything is going on with the Gremlins franchise, and I hope it sparks interest into the original movies, and maybe there will be more.
Apparently have trench coats in mainland China in the 1920s, but okay.
He has something else on.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's not the trench coat, but he's still like he flashes them.
Guess it's
a gremlin thing.
As old as time.
Awesome. So yeah, you can find that on Max, not HBO Max, just Max. Ugh. But it's it's great so far. All right, let's close things out. So you can find us on Instagram at AMP Horror, as well as YouTube at the same handle. Make sure to subscribe to us on any streaming service you listen to us on. Make sure to follow us there. If you enjoy what we do, please consider leaving us a nice review on Apple Podcast or any streaming service you listen to us on. That would really, really help us out. We would really appreciate that. But above all else, make sure you're following us on AMP Horror to stay updated. Kevin, where can they find you, man?
You can find me at Kool Ghoul Radio, and Kool with a K. And that's on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram as well.
Yeah, Kevin has he hosts a kind of, how would you pitch your show, Kevin? You read like short stories that you've written.
Yeah, it's a video podcast, and it's in the vibe of like Tales from the Crypt, but with short stories and creepypasta kind of stuff.
You guys are bad at hype. Let me do this.
Yeah, let Casey.
All right, so you got this zombie fucking radio station motherfucker there, and he's reading these stories, and the stories are usually fucked up, dude. You gotta listen to it. It's really great. Kool Ghoul Radio on YouTube. Cool with the K, like the cigarettes with a little penguin.
Thank you, Casey. I will include links to Kevin's YouTube and page and everything in the podcast description. Kris, where can they find you on social media, my friend?
I'm on most of the things: Letterboxd, Twitter, and YouTube at Kris Pistol. YouTube is Kris Watches Movies, where I make videos about movies.
And he has Can You Hear the Pod Tonight, his Disney podcast with his lovely wife Melody. Is that next episode out yet?
No. Why must you remind me?
Because I have to check.
Just go and subscribe, and they'll be up there when they're up there.
There's plenty of episodes to catch up on, including the one I guested on. I was on an episode of that podcast.
You were, yes.
Aristocats. Casey, are you on anything?
No, I know. And I'm on vacation is what I'm on, so I don't even want them bothering me on what I have.
So you can leave Casey alone for the foreseeable future.
I'm Lucha Gringo on Letterboxd, and on, you know what? You can bother me on PSN. You want to, like, fight some Street Fighter when it comes out in a week?
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. Thank you again, Kevin, for joining us. Always a blast having you on here and talking about full moon and all that kind of stuff. And hope you guys are having a wonderful May. We will be talking about Monster Palooza next episode because Casey and I and Kevin are going next week. Kris, you're missing out.
God.
You're missing out, Kris.
So
that's the story of my life. You know?
It's all right. I think you're doing pretty well for
out.
yourself. But yeah, we'll definitely have our full recap of that in the next episode, along with our first film from the K&B FX. So that'll be a lot of fun. Until then, we'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.